Study after study shows that learning is a key factor in increasing employee engagement as well as attracting and retaining top talents. Schools that succeed have cultures that encourage and empower every individual to learn from their experiences and grow in their mastery of skills. But the vital role of learning and development can be difficult if it's not set up correctly. Learning often first derives in the form of compliance training. If you are not intentional about shifting the role of learning and development to a strategic partner, it can remain in the service of risk mitigation, which is important but ultimately not the long-term interest of the success of the school. It's our job to make sure that the learning function takes the lead on maximizing the potential of our talents. Initiate meetings and ask great consulting questions. Take a deep dive into what the various functions need and the current state of the employee skills, abilities, and attitudes. Be sure you spend time identifying what ideal state looks like too. Explore what the top performers are doing that set them apart from the rest. As you have these meetings, map your findings to the learning metrics, adding notes for current and ideal states. This will give you a very real picture of what is needed and what will help you prioritize your learning initiatives. It will also help you engage in meaningful conversations about talent acquisition, management, and development. This becomes the roadmap for programs for your high potential talent as well as every employee group and function. It also plays a key role in succession planning, making sure that every vital employee is backed up by a variable successor who is being prepared to step in when needed. This learning strategy or roadmap is something you will want to share widely with key stakeholders as it will help you gain support and resources. Over time, you want to continue to drive the execution of your learning strategy, holding yourself accountable for delivering the results that matter in your institution. There are some other potential benefits of learning that I want to give you so that you can use them when you need to help key stakeholders understand the power of learning. First, let's look at retaining your top talent. We all know that this is important, and you will certainly hear the leaders in your organization talk about it, but I have found that most of them have not fully appreciated the financial costs of losing a top performer. This takes into account the cost of recruiting and hiring a new person, the lost productivity of the role until it's filled, and the time it takes for the new hire to get up to speed and fully productive. The costs are far more than people realize. Leaders should understand that it's far less expensive to invest in developing current talent rather than replacing them. Another thing to be seen by the leaders is the true cost of disengagement. Research shows that approximately 17% of the workforce is actively disengaged. This means that they're very unhappy and acting out that unhappiness at work in the form of tardiness, missed work days, and decreased productivity. Needless to say, when leaders see the overall and real cost of disengaged employees, they get very focused on prioritizing building an engaging work environment. The final thing that the leaders should see is the impact that learning has on both decreasing attrition and increasing employee engagement. Access to learning and development opportunities is a key driver of employee engagement. In addition, it increases employee identification and organizational values and can make an organization's culture more positive. Add to this research on motivation being driven by autonomy, mastery, and purpose, all of which have direct ties to learning. And research on the power of growth mindset in driving success. And you have a pretty compelling argument for the power of learning. We already have a culture of learning in our organization. Learning is happening every day in our workspace because we are biologically wired to learn. The real question is whether we are empowering a positive culture of learning that enhances the success of our organization. People learn on their own through experience and exploration. We need to create a culture where it's safe to take risks and make mistakes in every department. This also means that people celebrate the learning moments just as much as they do the results of success. A key to creating this culture is to ensure that our leaders know how to coach effectively. Coaching helps staff build their competence and confidence. Now the key is to value growth and improvement in our performance system. If we only assess how people perform, then we are missing an opportunity to empower a positive learning culture. Most performance rating systems are based on outcomes, not effort. But several studies have shown that when people are measured on growth and improvement, they step up and improve. A positive learning culture recognizes and rewards all growth and improvement. But the only way to support growth and improvement is to make learning easily accessible, and this is critical. We need to use blended learning to maximize our options. For example, in-person learning can contextualize learning for our organization and provides opportunities for hands-on application as well as collaboration. Online instruction is perfect for self-paced learning and as a pre-learning for an in-person event. Our staff possesses the potential to drive our organization to new heights. If we create a positive culture of learning, we will naturally reap the many benefits learning provides and set our institution up for success. Real behavior change is what we really need. Most behaviors in the workplace are habits. We all have habits around how we communicate, how we are using technology, and even how we manage others. So it's imperative that learning professionals get really clear on what habits you want to instill in our learners. Every skill is learnable. The next critical step is to help our staff practice those optimal behaviors enough times so that the right kind of habit is formed, and this is where most of the training needs focus. The biggest mistake learning professionals make is thinking that talking about a behavior is the same thing as doing the behavior. A habit has three key elements. There is the cue that signals that behavior should start. Then there is the behavior or routine. And when we complete it, we get some kind of reward. Instead of just talking about what makes a good one-on-one meeting or good performance feedback, they need to actually practice the words and actions in real time with another person. Each practice starts grooving the new neural pathway, and the repetitions bring a real behavior change. You need to really focus on instruction and practice, and the time you have with learners is best spent on developing new habits rather than imparting new information. When we think about right learning methods for today's professional talent, we need to design solutions that work with how the brain naturally learns and creates behavior change. We also need to make learning accessible and relevant for adult learners in their working context. A lot of learning is just misaligned to the needs of the organization and the people it's supposed to be serving. If it's not solving real problems, then it's not a good use of anyone's time. A lot of learning is just not sophisticated enough for adult learners. In our attempt to create the one-size solution, we often oversimplify things. The secret to delivering great learning and development lives in our ability to assess our staff and meet their needs. We have different kinds of staff. One group is our leaders in our organization who have leadership issues that need to be solved. The second key group is the teachers who will use or attend to the learning solutions and whose behavior we are trying to shift. It's important that we spend some time understanding our staff. This will become the data that will help us build an impactful and effective solution. Our leaders should better be equipped to lead people through change. In order to deliver the right solution, we need to know a few things. First, we need to understand current state of their skills and abilities and where they need to get to. We can get this information through asking great consulting questions. It's always the case that the leader's view is somewhat different from what the staff on the work are experiencing. Neither is right or wrong, but our solution must solve for the gap. The learner's view, the view of our staff, is crucial for giving us the complete picture. The reality could be that the employees are already overwhelmed with their current workload and not sure how to fit in there. In addition, the teams have a lot of cross dependencies and are not necessarily collaborating well across the group. And finally, many are concerned that they don't have enough staff to pull off the leader's expectations. Some staff are new and others are burnt out. After gathering all the information, we should spend some time mapping both perspectives, because the truth is that we need to solve for all of it. The participants will need to find value in the training, or they will just tune out. And if we don't solve their real pain points, we cannot ultimately accomplish what we need. If we really want to solve the organization's needs, we have to address the real issues, the context and the people. We need to create something that promotes awareness and dialogue across the groups and give some tools they can use immediately, because any change is an emotional process. We need to give them some emotional intelligence skills and some strategies for mapping how the team is doing and executing the plan. Taking the time to thoroughly assess our staff will help us build the most effective learning solutions. Every learning solution that we create needs to have a storyline, which means it has three parts: a beginning that meets the learners at their current state, then a middle part that serves as a bridge across to the end or final state. The final state is the behaviors and results we need to create. Neuroscientists have proven that insight is the most powerful learning tool we have. When a person has an excellent learning moment, there is a change in the brain, literally, and that moment cannot be unlearned or forgotten because the neural change is permanent. Insight is the gold standard for effective learning. So we should think about how we can set the learners up to have their own moments of insight. This occurs through working with the concepts in their own context. Not only is this aligned with adult learning theory and studies on habits, it also creates very engaging learning experiences. There are three core elements to do this: the why, the how, and the try or practice. The why is a big picture of the topic or issue. The how is what the learners can do to influence the topic or issue. It's the instruction aspect of the learning, and it is the skills that need to be developed. It can also include a model or a method. And the try is the hands-on work and habit building part of the learning. It can be assessments, practice sessions, or case studies. For every learning that we design, there is an optimal path to take our group of learners to insight. And when we create it, the results will speak for themselves.